How young leaders can actually actualize and scale the initiatives that they're actually doing. One critical component is the aspect of partnerships and really collaborating with the different sectors, so the public sector, the private sector, and multi stakeholders to actually now scale. Because young people, you have the ideas, but you need the resources, you need the networks to be able to take it to the next level. Another thing is, especially in the climate space, there's a need for young people to work with multi stakeholders on the policy perspective. So, can we collaborate to develop meaningful policies? Then, the third aspect is also an aspect of skilling. Showing up is one thing, but do you have the effective skills to effectively show up, walk the room, and actually get the resources you need, actually get the change you need? And the fourth thing is realizing that, especially when we talk about climate change, the most marginalized youth are always left behind. So even as a young person, as you're showing up, how can you bring the last mile as part of your efforts to show up? I think youth leaders are already showing up in the green job space. I mean, look at different leaders across the globe. We have Greta Thunberg, we have Vanessa Nakate from Uganda, we have Elizabeth Watuti from Kenya. A lot of young activists already showing up and leading their own organizations. Even as part of the YU summit, we have been hearing from young green leaders. Like today morning, we heard from Daniel Kayemba, who is the founder of EcoBricks in Uganda. So young people are already showing up. I think the question that we should be asking is, how can we make space for their showing up to be more effective and sustainable? Because they're already showing up, but they just need the space to actually actualize and scale. Okay, the opportunities exist, but what can we do to make it more decent? What can we do to make it more inclusive? And of course, those are evolving conversations, because another thing we must remember is that we can't achieve everything in one day. So the first step is having those conversations to see what are the gaps. So more of an analysis of what the gaps are. And then from there, step by step, seeing what are those small wins that we can do to make them more decent and more inclusive. So from the conversation, from there identifying those small gaps, and then designing solutions to make it more decent. You notice that when it comes to economic opportunities, we're always rushing for the bigger names to work with. But how can we ensure that young people have the capacity to be able to lead the charge and also be involved in these conversations? And how do we build their capacity in the soft skills to be able to have those skills that they need to effectively get decent opportunities? That's really a promising activity, and something that I see can advance economic opportunities. More and more people are starting to try to shift their mindsets on how do we achieve decent work. So I think it's now having conversations with some of those organizations and trying to see and seeing, okay, if you have decent jobs for young people, these are some of the wins. It could give you more funding for your programs, it could give you more this and so on. And also, another thing is really the policies that are put in place. A lot of the time, in most of the contexts, even the bare minimum or minimum wage is not even achieved. So beyond those policies, having the structures that actually do the monitoring and follow up to ensure that those things are actually implemented on the ground. The challenges are many, but from where I sit, one of the biggest challenges is the opportunities themselves. I think a lot of young people, it's now becoming the norm. You go to school, you get the grades, you come out. Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? So really, how can we ensure that there's economic opportunity? Because we're always saying youth economic opportunities, but how do we make sure that there are opportunities? The second grain is that sometimes there are opportunities, but are they decent? Are they inclusive? Are they safe for young people? I think we need to start having those conversations, because there's just more than providing the opportunity. But does it allow a young person to have a decent livelihood? Does it allow them to fulfill their aspirations? Does it allow them to scale and sustain their livelihoods? Those are conversations we need to be ready for.